Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to you on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. My name is Kyron Murphy. I work in our technical sales department today and always, actually. But I have the pleasure of bringing to you with Vladimir the insertion rail system 2.0 on trapezoidal roofing. I will be presenting some of the products. You might be able to see them already on the side of the screen and also a bit of assembly instruction. And Vlado, what will you be presenting today?
I will show you how to find the components on our webpage, in our product catalog, and also how to design your project with InsertionRail on BasicRail in our base software.
Okay, Vlad, maybe I let you
Yep.
go prepare some of the online part, and I will just give a little bit of housekeeping for today. So we're running on Zoom and also on YouTube today. So if you do want to see a recording of this, it's already going to be, or it's currently already on YouTube and will be then viewable in the future as well. So there's no need to be asking for a recording. If you do have any questions throughout today, we would love to hear them. There's a little chat function down the bottom of your Zoom and also a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A part of Zoom because we can then answer them. So for example, while Vlado is presenting, I can answer them, and while I'm presenting, he can answer them via text. We also do have the option of turning your microphone on if you give permission, obviously, and where you can ask us a question directly. So we'll do that at the end if there are anything you haven't been able to type, or you just thought at the last minute, hey, that would be an interesting point to discuss. You can put your hand up virtually and we can turn your microphone on and you can have a little conversation with us as well. These are only on the Zoom function though, just for your information. That's about all for our housekeeping today. So Vlado and I will be jumping back and forth a little bit between the parts that we want to present. And to start it off, we're going to just show where to find some of the online material because we're going to go through everything here quite quickly, I think, in depth, but also quite quickly. And we're going to be following some of the steps on the assembly instructions. So we're going to show you that and also where some of the more specific product details are. So Vlado, I'll pass over to you now
Yep.
and get the ball rolling.
Yep. Thank you, Karen. So we have today our webinar for advanced viewers. So I will not start with our webpage and so on. So just remember our product catalog. Here's the address of our product catalog. In here in our product catalog, you can find every component and assembly instructions, data sheets, and so on and so on. So everything you need for installation. So today we are talking about insertion rail on BasicClips, how to find components and assembly instructions for the system. So the easiest way is to point with your mouse on mounting systems, and here a menu will open. You will see here on the right side is our insertion rail system. Just click on it, and you will get here all the components related to insertion rail system. Yeah, because now we can install insertion rail on multi rails, on hooks, and so on. So you will get here a lot of components which all are related to our insertion rail system. Maybe important point to mention right away that today we will talk about insertion rail 2.0. It's our new insertion rail because here you can also find our old insertion rail. So just remember, old insertion rail is not suitable for installation on BasicClips. It's only for old installation for old mounting systems. Yeah. So we're talking today about the social rate 2.0. Here you can also put some filters, for example, yeah, for mounting rails or maybe for accessories. So yeah, you can find everything related to insertion rails. What is also important here, you can find data sheets of components. You have to log in, and then you can also open the data sheets. See some information about our insertion rail, or also open or download assembly instructions. Another way to assemble instructions is, let us do it from the beginning. You click on insertion rail. Here you can find some information about it. And here in download section Also, assembly instructions, you can see here it's like divided in assembly instructions for old insertion rail, yeah, and for the new insertion rail 2.0. So we are talking today about insertion rail 2.0. So click on it, and here you have assembly instructions to our today's topic, uh, insertion rail 2.0 on BasicClips. Yeah. So you can open or download assembly instructions, and here you can find everything. So here's how to install it, every component, also with article numbers and so on. All components Karen will show you later how to install it and so on, but you can see right away that here's everything is explained in very detail, everything you need for successful installation. So I believe that's all from my side at this point. So let's pass to Karen back.
Thank you, Vlado. So as part of the insertion rail presentation that we want to do today, I think we should start at the very beginning and say, well, what is the insertion rail? If you know K2 products, you've probably used basic rail or maybe mini rail, multi-rail for the trapezoidal systems. And the insertion rail is something we don't discuss so regularly because it's a bit of a special product. It's becoming more and more popular in facades. However, it's one that we sell more for aesthetic purposes. So it's a clamp-free system. The rails I have here in front of me, and we'll show them shortly in a close-up. But it's a way of putting the panels on the roof in a secure way. However, they look quite different to a clamped system. So there, as I said before, there are no clamps. They slide in and out. We'll go through this installation shortly. And we offer them in black and silver. And Klaus, if we could just have a close-up of the ones here. And what you're seeing here is a bit of the side view of the rails. Usually they will be installed sort of like this. And you see that they are asymmetric. I'm just going to give you sort of the side that there's a top side and a bottom side. They come in black and silver, as you see here. And on this, you see the asymmetric pattern of it. Right? And this allows for an installation process, which we'll go through quite quickly, but also ensures that there's still a secure panel once it's on the roof. And what you'll notice though, as there is no, if we can just zoom back in here, this distance here is going to be determined by the panels we use. So when you have a clamp, you can usually just tighten the clamps higher or lower depending on the module frame. But for this rail, the specific rail is only suitable for one module clamp, one module width, because this height here must be equal to the module height. All right, so we have three options, the 30, 35, and 40, and they come in different lengths, and we have the silver and the black. Not every combination is possible in terms of the products that we sell, just because some of the wants or needs are not there. What we're seeing a lot of at the moment is the black one. The black product is a little more popular as it's more aesthetically pleasing. You have no frames, no edges, no gaps between modules. And if you have a black frame module, and also the panels themselves are obviously dark, you have a very aesthetically pleasing wall. So these are the main products. So this is the name and the main part of the system that we're talking about today. And what we're going to go through now is the installation process from the bottom up, effectively, also from the roof up. And to do that, we're going to start with our BasicClip, which is a product that, if you know K2, you will almost certainly know. So the BasicClip works with our basic rail, and the reason, and this clip has been around for longer than I know, longer than I can remember, and has a really simple installation process. You see on this section here, it's asymmetric, and this allows for a sort of an up-down, I call it an up-down installation, a sliding installation of the rails, which we have used with the basic rail, as I said before, for many years, and we can now do it on the insertion rail. And so these basic clips are fixed into the roof sheeting of the trapezoidal roofing with just some screws. Right, so these are special thread forming screws which will just sit onto the basic clip, or in the basic clip, and then just through into the underlying sheet. I think I actually have the shorter screw here, I'm sorry. So there is a little bit longer one that goes a little bit further through. This one's a little bit shorter just for a slightly different purpose. So what's being held onto the roof is actually this clip, and our rails, sorry, here we go. You can see the difference, what we have here. Sorry, I just had the product for the mini rail and the multi-rail. The concept's more or less the same. This is going to sit through, and this thread is going to fix into the sheeting. And so our system is only going to be fixed into the roof sheeting, and the basic clips themselves are the things that are being fixed, not the rail. And this allows for a bit of thermal expansion, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. So once we've got our basic clips on our roof, we can put our insertion rails in, and just as a little sample, we have our insertion rail, and we're going to talk about it. I'll give you a bit of a demonstration before, but to keep this up-down motion in a close-up, the rails are going to slide into one side, and then back down into the other, right? And they're going to sit, so this is going to be the bottom part of the roof. This is how it sort of sits in a close-up. And we do this a number of points along the roof, right? And the panels are now fixed, and they're not going to come out off the roof. There is a potential for them to slide this direction, right? But this is wanted. Right? This is allowing for a little bit of thermal expansion, and as the rails expand, right, they're not going to put the stress into the roofing itself. They're just going to slide slightly through. And we're only talking sort of millimeters here, but over time, if this direct force is being transferred into the roof, this can cause extra wear and tear on the roof, and this is something that we can effectively reduce by having this installation style, shall we say. And I think probably the rest of it is we have a few more components, but it'll be a little bit easier to show on the sample that we have over here. So we're just going to jump over there, and I might just grab some products just to show you in a second. But what we're going to do generally, and this is first part is the same as what we would do with a trapezoidal roofing and basic rail, is we're going to put our two outside basic clips onto the onto the roof. And then we take our rail, and I mentioned before that it's asymmetric, so our longer side is always at the bottom, and our installation just goes up into the top, as we showed before, and comes down, and you can pull it down. All right? And so we just do that on we've done it on the top rail, and we can do it on the second rail. Right, and so we're only putting in 4 screws effectively initially, making sure that it's in line. We can put our rail in, and this is the first step that then gets us, or effectively the quickest step as well, to ensure that our rails are now set. We now just need to secure them more or less. And we do that in a bit of a clever way, I think, because the basic clips themselves, as they're asymmetric, and maybe we could have done this earlier, sorry Klaus, but you'll see here there's a little MK2 on the picture. So this is what we do upright for the outside 2 clips, and a couple other ones inside, but we use this as a reference to say for somewhere in the middle, a couple of places as well, what we're going to do is flip it, and we can install this onto the roof once we've got our rails already set up. So this one here has the K2 facing down, not readable, and we can put this in as a different way, and we can slide it in, and we screw now through, fixing this basic clip in place. And as it's asymmetric, this clip is holding the rail down, and this clip and the one on the other end is holding it from moving the other direction. So initially we started by pulling the rails down, sitting in the bottom half of this one, and on the middle one we've faced it the other way around, and Klaus, I'm not sure if we didn't test this before, but maybe you can see on here that there's a little gap on this top part, right? So the basic clip is now, this basic clip is pulling the rail down effectively, and the basic clips on the end are holding it up. And this is more or less how the system is now secured from moving up and down. So we have a vertical fixing, more or less, with this methodology. I spoke about before, there is the thermal expansion topic as well. So it still can move a little bit left and right, and you can see that here. So we do have this transverse movement that is possible, and we fix that in a different way using our little fix stops. I hope I have the right Allen key here, which I do not, sorry. I also do not. And so we have our fix stop set, which is a little clamp, more or less, which is going to sit on either side of our insertion rail. And you won't be able to see it, so I'll actually install it on the bottom. Usually you would install it on the top underneath, but you're not going to be able to see that. So just to show you what I mean, you can put that sort of we can do it on this side, on the just off center from the basic clip that we have here, and we can tighten it on one side. Because the rail, as I said, it's usually done on the top, so you can see it a little bit more. But we just tighten this on both sides, and the torque you need to put onto this is going to be, is shown in the assembly instructions. And by securing these tightly here, we're now stopping the rail from moving at this point. It still allows you to it still allows the rail to expand a little bit heading out. And however, this is okay because it's still fixed here. So the expansion out should then, if it does cool overnight, for example, or at a colder month, it's going to come back in a little bit. And again, we're only talking millimeters here, so it's not a sort of a huge issue, but over time, this topic can degrade the roof, and to avoid that, we have this fixing that we can put in here. So once our panels rails are in, and if we had more, we just put them further up the roof. We can put our panels in, and as I said before, it's just an up-down function, and so effectively the same as the insertion rail. Insertion rail into the basic clips. So right, it's as simple as putting it in and taking it out. And this is more or less the installation. So once the rails have been installed, the actual panel installation, which is in some cases can be quite difficult. The panels are the heaviest part of the system that we're putting on the roof, is very quick and straightforward. So so this process can be sped up or can speed up your whole installation quite quickly. Once we've got the first panel in, we want to then have a little, maybe I'll show you on this as well. So you see though the panels aren't clamped, which does allow for a little bit of movement, right? Or you could argue lots of movement. So what we want to do is stop them falling out the end of the rail. Obviously that's not what we want to happen. And so we can put in an end stop. So these are usually single use products. We have used this one multiple times now, so it is a little bit loose. But the idea is there are some teeth on this end part of the fix stop. As you push it in, this grabs into the rail and will just catch it in place. So you won't be able to pull it out, because as soon as you put any force on it, it'll catch in the rail effectively. So this is going to sit on the end of the insertion rail and is going to be the sort of last point that the panels sit up against. Right? And this is going to stop it moving from from one side to the other. We then want to put, for example, our second panel in. We're going to ensure that there is a little gap between the panels, and we also will now ensure that the panels cannot be taken out. And we do this by putting the module safety in, right? So this ensures that there is a 5 millimeter section between the panels, and it's just going to sit up. It's effectively not seen. It's just going to sit up into the panel, into the rail, sorry. And it does two things, and I'll show you those two after I've put this in. So it first ensures that there is a now uniform gap that runs down here. Realize this isn't the best picture for that. But the other thing it does is, because it's adding roughly 0.5 centimeter of rubber in here, you cannot lift it up and take the panels out, because this is a stopper for it, more or less. And so it's in some places we've heard the feedback, oh, well, how do you stop people sort of stealing the panels, because they are actually just an up-down process. But once you've got this end stopper in and the safety in the middle, and you've cut your rails on the other end and put your other stop in, it's actually impossible to get this panel out, because you have to take this out first, which is locked in, and you cannot pull the panel up because this stopper is in here as well. And so you're creating a secure setup, more or less. So if there is any rework that does have to be done, I mean, you can manually cut some rail or have to take something out, or really kind of force these end stops out. So it is not a sort of permanent solution, but it does stop someone just coming in and taking off the panels, which we've heard actually a bit of feedback from. Some people were quite concerned about. So this is then more or less the installation. Once we have this one on, we can put our next panel up on the next rail, and it's just going to sit in here, right? Or if we put panel on below, the process is going to be exactly the same, and we're putting it with this up-down process. And what's quite nifty, or some of the advantages of doing it in this way, more so with the facades, but also here, these panels are sitting just on this rail, right? And this rail is securing it in case there was sort of some wind to come up and tip it or kip it. Whereas here, like this one panel is just with gravity pushing down, right? And the panels above with one panel is just pushing down, right? And so you have this sort of 1.5 concept where all of the weight is being pushed down onto only one rail, and the next row, all of that weight is only on this one rail, right? And so every rail is just carrying effectively one panel, which is a pretty, I think, clever way of doing it in terms of, or if you compare it with some of the other systems where if you were to have a vertical rail running down, the potential weight could transfer down the roof through the panels, through the clamps into each other's system, or into the system below. But that's not something that will happen here. So some of the questions that we'll go through later, or later we'll show as well, like how do we decide where to put these basic clips? So these are all determined in the base software, determining on the strength of this material, because we are only fixing into the sheeting. If we have a thicker, stronger sheet, then maybe we need to do every second one or every third crest. If it's not so strong, maybe you need to do it on every crest. The wind and the snow, all of this is incorporated into the software as well. We do have the option of expanding it. So here we've only got a little sample with 2 panels, but we do have rail connectors, which allow you to put the rails connecting further and have longer panels. We have it here in landscape, but again, you can just flip the panels and it does effectively the same concept, just in a vertical setup. And all these possibilities are there, and things that are capable and will be shown in the base software as well. One other thing as well, we do have the TerraGriff, so we might just jump back to the other one there, Klaus. So if you do need to ensure that the module frames are earthed, this can be done as well. So our TerraGriff, this is our TerraGriff product. If you know any other K2 systems, you probably have seen a different sort of TerraGriff. The concept is the same though. So it's got little teeth on it, which you can spin this around. No, the other way. There you go. You can see these teeth. These bite into the module frame and also through the anodized layer of the rail, more or less. So these are also, say, single-use products. They're designed to ensure that there is electrical connection between the rails, and so we would usually put it just on the frame of the panel here. And as I said before, they're sort of single use, so I might have not been able to get this one back on. But you might be able to see actually already the teeth that have cut marked in there, right? And so this is, we're scratching through the anodized layer of the rail, and we do effectively the same thing on the panel frame as well. So if you do have the need, which often you do, and we actually always recommend you do earth your panel frames as well, unless it specifically says you don't have to. You can do that with this system, with this TerraGriff product as well. We haven't done it on the installation because once you get this in with the panel, it makes it quite a bit more difficult to get back out as well. Okay, so I've gone through that, I think, in as much depth as I wanted to. Vlado, was there any questions that had popped up that you think we could answer here, or?
Yes, we have some questions. I would like to answer. So maybe first, right away, please write your questions in Q&A section and not in chat section, because it's easier for us to answer your questions from there. So there are some questions, but all of them are in chat section, in the wrong one. So someone is asking about basic log. Maybe can you explain again how do we replace basic log in our InsertionRail on BasicClips?
Yeah. So we'll just maybe I can show you on here as well. So the basic lock is a product from our basic rail system. And if you're aware of this, it effectively fixes the rail in place and allows for the thermal expansion to go outwards. And so instead of having the basic lock itself, you can see on this rail, actually, we've kind of already installed one. You see these two little parts here, and we do it with the fixed stop set. So our basic clip will sit underneath our rail, for example, and if you had the basic rail system, we would put a clamp on top effectively, which locks it in place. And in this case, we're going to place our fixed stop sets. Again, I have my wrong Allen key. I think this will be a long-running joke for me planning my webinars. So we put one on one side, and we've only got 3 here, unfortunately, so I'll have to grab another one from the sample that we just did, and then we put one on the other side, and we just tighten these. And this becomes effectively our basic lock, right? So if it's not going to, you can only move so far one way, it can only move so far the other way. The idea is actually it's not moving at this point. Any expansion will get stopped by this, for example. And then if it expands further out, and because the whole rail is expanding, right? So from everything further out can also expand. Once that retracts, it's going to kind of come back. This is sort of the theory behind it. So we want to put this somewhere in the middle, and it allows for the expansion outwards and potentially then back inwards. And so if I have a second one, maybe it'll move through the basic clip, for example, at the end. But this point here is always going to, it's not going to move any more than this, right? And in all, like in reality, we're probably going to install it a little closer as well, right? Yeah. So I think that's covered that one.
Yep.
Was there another question as well?
Yes, there are several questions.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm very glad about it.
Yeah.
So here's again question, how to replace modules.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain it once again.
Yeah, so we'll jump back to the sample that we have here. So once all of the panels are in, and it should be quite secure and quite unable for the panels themselves just to move around. If you have something you need to replace one panel, for example, you are going to have to take this end off. As I said before, this one comes off a lot easier as they should because we're using this regularly. So you'll take off the end clip. Maybe you need a hammer or something, some pliers. And for example, if I wanted to take this middle panel off, I would have to push this panel far enough that I can take the safety out, right? Once I've got the safety out, I can move the panel across a bit because imagine there's also going to be a safety on this side as well. And then all I really need is enough to get my fingers in to then take the panel out. Right, so it's going to be potentially 5 to 10 centimeters that we have to move the outside panel. And then if you have 3 panels, you're also obviously going to have to move the inside panel. So you're just going to move them all out a little bit, just enough to get your fingers on either side. And then it's the same up-down process. So you do have to work, I guess, at least half your field, half your row of panels. But you don't have to unscrew everything. So if you think about it with clamps, where you might have to undo a clamp or take a clamp apart to then get in and work it that way. This one, it's a different concept. So we're just going to move them all a little bit so we can pull it in and take it out.
Thank you, Karen. Another question is advantage of insertion rail on basic clips compared to multi-rail with insertion rail. So I would say the main advantage is for sure costs, yeah, because here you just install basic clips with 2 screws. For multi-rail, you will need 4 screws. You will need cross connector to install insertion rail into the multi-rail. So it will be like, cross connector.
Yeah.
Karen, we will show you in a minute cross connector in a second.
Yeah. So for our other systems, our facade systems, all of our other pitch roof systems and the multi-rail, which the question and Vlado spoke about before, you would first have to screw in the multi-rails in the same way we've done the basic clips. Then you would have to place the cross connectors in, right? And the cross connector installation with the basic rail, I don't know if we have enough time to really explain why, but it's a little more difficult than the installation with the basic clip because you actually have to align all of these first. So you have to put in, let's say, 10 of them, and then you put the rail in, and these all have to be perfectly in line. With the basic clips, you can put the first basic clip and the last basic clip, and then you do this up-down function, and you're done, and you just fix it. But with the cross connector, you actually have to align them all first. So you are going to spend a bit more time doing the installation as well. And as Vlado said, the material will be extra because instead of having this product and 2 screws, you have 25 centimeters of rail, 4 screws, MK2, this product, and so it just becomes a little bit more as well. Yeah.
So we have here a lot of questions about installation of optimizer.
Yeah, so if you're an optimizer on this one would be a little bit difficult in comparison to our multi-rail or mini-rail, especially the mini-rail 60, for example, actually has now a little bit extra or a higher version, which gives you that space for the optimizer. For something like this, you are choosing optics or aesthetics over, in some cases, what you might consider easier solutions in terms of the optimizer. So it might involve having sort of a row, and if we jump back over here, above the panels sort of thing. So if you're looking down from the roof, you're not going to see so much above it, right? And so you could place something effectively above it. That's only going to be like a single row sort of thing. You might need something that fixes, or another idea is something that fixes directly onto the roofing here as well, which is not ideal compared to some of the other solutions that we have. And so this is an area where I would say this final or the solution is not one that's really been finalized. Like we have recommendations of how you could do it, but there's not one that we go, hey, this is the way of placing an optimizer on a system like that. No. Yeah. So we just had a question about if we could use a specific product on that, which we can't. Yeah. So I think if you have a specific layout, and it will be different if they're in, like if the panels are vertical here as well, you'll have just space will be a little bit different. You have a specific project that you want information about, please send us an email, and we can have a look at where we think the optimizers might be the best option for that project. And I'll just jump back to our, yeah, and so sorry, we just put the email on that now. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So next question: if there is a maximum roof slope for using InsertionRail in portrait orientation, so I would say there is no maximum roof slope, or we have like our standards maximum roof slope of 75 degree. So and it's not about the insertion rail, if the system is verified or not. It's mainly about the screws, or I would say even about thickness of your metal sheet. If it's steel or aluminum, how thick it is, because it's the first thing. It's not verified are the screws and not insertion rail. So
I think also a point about that, as you raise up, or let me rephrase that. The system here is designed for also what am I trying to say? Facades. We're mostly actually using this rail on facades, right? And in situations like that, we're at 90 degrees, right? And it's not with the basic clip, but with other versions of this like setup. And with that, what's also really important is actually the panel allowed to be built in this setup, because the panels and the safety on a rooftop is quite different to the requirements for a safety in a vertical installation, because if something was to happen, it was to fall, and there are people underneath, then it becomes a very different story than if it was to fall effectively from a rooftop that we have like this. So that's also just something to consider when you're talking about inclination, because the panels fall into a different bracket when they're installed in a different way as well. So yeah. Any more questions?
yeah.
Okay, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Most questions we've had in a while.
Finally, we have other questions.
Love
it. Another question is how long our BasicClip can last exposed to the wind, snow, and so on, rain.
Now, it's a really good question. So, I mean, it's a polyethylene plastic, effectively, right? So the major concern with this is usually UV radiation. However, most of them are underneath the panel. So there will be a little part that is exposed to sunlight, and this is where effectively the major concern is. However, we have a 12-year standard warranty on all of our products and all of our systems, and this can be quite easily extended to a 20-year warranty as well, for which we are like very confident that the material will last for that. I mean, incredibly extreme conditions, if you were going to build it on the Arctic, for example, we might consider more of a metal product, but for projects all across Europe, whether it be south of Spain and the heat, or in the Nordics where it can be, minus 10, minus 20, minus 30 quite easily, we have no issue recommending and quite comfortable with our warranty of, as I said, 12 years, but also if you sign up for the Docu app, you can get a 20-year warranty on the whole system, which includes this component as well. Yeah.
Yep. Another very good question: how our system prevents rattling, making noise in windy conditions?
That is a pretty good question as well. So there is, I guess, one situation that we cannot really account for at all, and that is module tolerance. So modules, say they're 30 mil, right? And if they're 28 mil, for example, there's not so much we can do in terms of that. So the module safety itself, so we spoke about this little product, and we'll look at it kind of over here as well, acts as a little bit as a, if you think of like a dampener on a tennis racket, it's going to sit in there to stop it obviously moving up and down, but it's also going to stop the panels touching each other. So there's going to be none of sort of this sound. What I was talking about before, though, is this little gap in here, and you can see I can get a little bit in here, and I've just built it with, I shouldn't say I, definitely not me. We have built a sample of this, of these panels, which are just designed for to be shown really well, but aren't obviously actual panels. And they're a little bit smaller, right? And you see that there is a little bit of movement in there, right? So that usually there'll be a little snugger, which will stop this. Like, it's not going to be anywhere near as drastic as this, but there could be some like sort of this way movement. And for that, it's quite easily, you could put just a bit of like a stopper in here of some description, whether it be like a soft silicon or something that's not going to degrade the panel, obviously. We don't want to avoid anything like that. But this tolerance distance, if you have a panel that, as I said, is 29 or 28 millimeters rather than the 30 millimeters, for this, we don't have a product. However, we see that there are many small parts that you could buy on the market, or even from just a sort of a homeware store, that you could place between it effectively on the underside of the, either the underside of the rail or just on the very edge of the panel itself, to stop this dampening and kind of fill that tiny gap. But generally speaking, it is snug enough that you're not going to experience this. The other part of it is we're usually going to design this for expecting this to be built on sort of large scale warehouses where, yes, if you are standing outside in front of it, it's going to be quite loud. But if you're driving past on the highway, for example, you're not going to hear that. Or if you're working inside on a quite well insulated building, you're not going to have that issue as well. So it is something, though, that is a really good question. So thank you.
Yep. So the next question is coming from my dear friend Maria.
It's nice when you get no people answering emails as well.
So Maria is asking about distance between basic clips, if it will be shown in our base report. So here we're talking about horizontal distance and vertical distance. So horizontal distance will be shown in our base report. Klaus, can we share my screen? About vertical distance, you have this explained in our assembly instructions. So you can see here how to determine the distance, the vertical distance between the basic clips and module length is millimeters. So the next question is coming from Peter. If insertion rail can be used with roof hooks? Yes. In the meantime, we even have it already in base, so you can also check in base. So you can install also on tile roofs some of our hooks with rails and with InsertionRail 2.0. But for tile roofs, you will need like 2-layer system to install our InsertionRail. And probably the last question, if this solution can span skylights. So I would say it will depend on your skylights, because if it's staying in the way of putting the insertion rail, it's surely not possible. Yeah, but I would say it's no solution for spanning skylights.
In theory, we could do this span. So like in the sample we had before, we had about a roughly 35 millimeter span between fixations. And if you do the base report and it says you have a 800 mil span between fixations, technically you probably could do it. However, from the projects I think we've seen so far, I would say the location where that possible would be only when there's very, very little wind. So generally speaking, not. I would also kind of raise.
I also would say if you will left your skylight like between the rails, it also makes no sense because you will just spend money, spend material on this distance with no effect. I would say.
Yeah.
There is no need.
And I mean, also the question is, well, you're losing the purpose of the skylight being there. I mean, if you have one of these half-half, 50-50 panels where you have the space through, yeah, I guess you're making use of it both there. But I would say, generally speaking, it's not something we would recommend. It's not something that's been designed for. If you do have a specific case that you are like very keen on building, we can obviously have a look at it. I think we put the email address up before. We might be able to put it up again. If you can send it to us, we have a look at what might be possible, because we have other rails and other solutions which could fix this, or could be possible for the project that you have. Okay.
Okay, and probably the last question for now, it's about the length of our insertion rails 2.0. Klaus, can we share again the screen? Yeah, so here the best way to find it out, you just go to our product catalog, as I explained already. You go to insertion rails, and now you see our rails and the lengths they are available in, because we have different lengths for different width of insertion rail. There for 30 millimeters, we have one length, and for example, for 30 millimeters black, you have two possible lengths. There are not so many lengths as you probably used to have for our single rails or basic rails. There are only two lengths, and I think we will stay also with these two lengths. We will not try to implement another length, because for us is then always difficult to sell the rails out, because some lengths are used, some lengths are not used, and then we just keep huge stock on them, and that's not so sufficient for us. So let me proceed with base calculation. Oh, we are very close to the end of our webinar, so let's do it fast. We are somewhere in Hungary. For Hungary, you have here different options to select. I would say right away, if you have these two options, you shall use your regional design method, your regional norms, because it can be important then. We will go through this one because it's a webinar for advanced users, so you surely know how to use it, how to calculate it, what is here to select. Then you design your building. Here's our trapezoidal metal sheet roof. It's a gable roof. It's very important that you select here correct roof shape, roof type. Yeah, it's monopitch or gable roof. This one is gable roof. It's very important to start with the if, and then go to the top. In this way, you will get right roof pitch direction already. Here you put information about the trapezoidal metal sheet, like crest distance, crest width, crest height, very important material of the rail, of the metal sheet, and its thickness. So then you select your model. And next step, you select your system. So if you don't see complete name, you just point with your mouse and it will open, and now you can see what is the full name. So this is our insertion with multi-rail we talked shortly about today. And here's our main topic, insertion rail 2.0 on BasicClips. So just select it. Now we select landscape or portrait. Both options are available for the system. Yeah, and then you design your model block, model field. Oh, sorry. This one. And you go to results. Since we have a 30 millimeter model. We can select here between the two lengths of black insertion rail 2.0, or this one you can see is here is no black name, so it means it's silver one. Here you can add cover, paragraph, or cable management, or everything of them. Yeah. Now you can see it's calculated. So here you have your distance between the basic clips. Here you have like on every crest. Probably reducing the loads. We will get them every second, or maybe not. It's always calculated here. So this is the loads on our basic clips, yeah, on our screws, which prevent us to install the clips every second crest, but we must go with every crest. Maybe also important to mention here. So here's our portrait installation, yeah, and you see the loads. And if we will copy the roof, let's change the roof pitch and design in landscape, you will see that now we are able to go to every second crest because the vertical distance between the rails is now much shorter. So you're allowed to use less basic clips, less screws. So important point here about the system also, you can imagine that if you install insertion rail in this way, you will need more material, you will need longer rail for the same number of models compared to install the same models in Portrait. So you will also see it in price. See, here's installed Portrait is only 56 per kilowatt peak, and here if you install the models landscape, you need much more rails, so you will get a higher price. So you should consider if it's verified for portrait installation, I would say it's easier and cheaper way to install the model than installing the model's landscape. But if it's not verified, like in this case, you will need to install the model's landscape. Yeah, and in the report, as we previously said, you will for sure see the distance between the basic clips, or at least you will see that's like, here's again explained the vertical distance between the basic clips. So it's even calculated for you, so you can see it. So Mario, yes, you can see it in the report, the exact distance between the basic clips. And here also you can see the distance between the horizontal distance between the basic clips, or at least you will see that's every crest in this case, yeah. And in case of our landscape installation, you see now that the distance is much smaller. And here you will see the distance between the basic clips, so where it's like every second crest and where it's every crest. So I believe that's all from my side, because this calculation is very similar to basic rail, I don't know, to all other our solutions. It's very simple. If you will have any questions, just contact us. We are here for you to answer all possible questions. Is there anything else we want to show, to tell? Did you show cover?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I did not show the rail cover. So one point I forgot to mention. So thank you for reminding me. Is our rail insertion rail cover, which can be put on the top or the bottom of the insertion rail system, and it's again on the idea of we're trying to make a more aesthetically pleasing system. And so, if Klaus, maybe we can just have a look at the system there as well. It's very black, yeah.
Maybe you can show me with this one.
So if okay, I see what you're saying. So this is the rail cover, right? And it just clips into the rail. So we have the silver one here, and we also have the black version. Sorry, I'm moving around. And so our black version as well. And I think I now putting it the wrong way around. And you hear a click, right? And it just sits now under, and so you don't have the look of the underside of the rail. It's just more of a closed face that we have on here. And you hear that click that it goes in. So I cannot pull it out. I can slide it out if I need to, again, do any, for whatever reason. But this just sits in here and provides a little more aesthetically pleasing option. And I can also put it on the top, actually, which adds a little bit of protection from pooling. As you see here, it is round. If we were to leave the top open, this could fill up with water. The idea is this rail is straight, so there's not going to be too much runoff. If there is sort of then freezing, there could be an issue. So you can also put it on top. Effectively, it's the same thing. It's the clip function, and it's just going to sit on top and protect it a little bit from water buildup, things getting caught in there. If you're in on the roof, it's probably more of an issue. If you get leaf buildup in here, then there's a potential for, or it increases the risk of fire hazard. If you can block this off in some way, that reduces that chance. So you can do that with the with the cover that we had here, and it's just an optional extra which you can put into in base that Plato showed before by ticking that little button.
Yeah, so it's like up to you to decide if you install this cover or not. So if you want to reduce some costs and you say, okay, this aesthetic view and this additional, it's not so important for me, you can just don't click it in base, so it will be a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But if you want to have it like complete nice looking solution, it's probably it's a good point. Connector.
Yeah, and the other thing we actually didn't show, which I'm being reminded about a lot now, is our rail connector, and you can see the insertion rail has this little gap down the bottom, right? And we have our rail connector, which you see here, this little sort of a lip that sits right in the middle, and so this slides into our rail. And our other rail then slides in on the other side. Right. So usually you'll obviously not have a silver and black one right next to each other, but if you are into mixing and matching, you can also do that as well. And so it does have a little gap there, and there's no screws in this connection. So it's really just ensuring that there's no vertical movement between the rails. And we use this fix stop section where we fix it at some point. We can also put one further down if we need to ensure that there is also no sideways movement as well. But so you're only going to need this when you are having multiple sections of rail, so more than those 550 or 5.95, depending on the rail thickness and the rail that you decide to use, or the 5.7. Yeah.
So, and also to mention that this gap is also here for water drainage, so the water can flow out of the rail and go through it and just leave your rail.
Yeah. So at the start of the day, we said we would actually have a round of questions at the end. However, we're already at an hour, so we might bypass that. If anyone did have any questions, please do get in touch with us, though. So the email address that we've put on, we would love to hear your feedback about today. We would also like to hear about any specific projects you have, whether it be this skylight one that was mentioned before, or something else that maybe we didn't cover today, but is something that you were interested in, or you had not found a solution for just in base or in other products. We do have a range of solutions that are possible for many situations. I think that's all that we had on today. I'm just checking the notes. So yeah, we do have a webinar again in a couple of weeks, or a month and a half actually, on the 15th of April, where we're going to talk with another company that's in the digital space of PV planning, should we say, so Solid. And we'll be talking about the integration with K2 Base, which Photo showed, and another aspect of planning for PV. So hopefully we can see you then. If not, do we have a survey today, Klaus, at all? All right, so then no survey. That's easy. Flutter, from your side, thanks for today. It's been good from my side. Yeah, you as well. Klaus makes the magic happen. I think he deserves a thanks as well. And of course, thanks for you for joining today. An hour out of your time is valuable, and we appreciate it, and we hope we have been able to show you something, and hope we can do it again sometime in the future. Until then, see ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.